Sadhu, sadhu.
Today we have to listen Ariyavasa and Nivarana, the abode of noble ones and mental hindrances. Ariyavasa means the residence or abode of the noble ones. All the previous Buddhas, Kassapa Buddha, Konagamana Buddha, Kakusanda Buddha, Visabu Buddha, Sikhi Buddha, Vipassi Buddha, etc. And his noble disciples dwelt in that Ariyavasa. In the same way, our Gautama Buddha and his disciple, noble disciple, Ariyapokala, we dwell in that Ariyavasa. And future Buddha, Arimitiya Buddha, and his disciple, we dwell in that Ariyavasa. So Ariyavasa refers to important qualities required to become a noble ones. In other words, each and every noble one dwells in Ariyavasa, which is well guarded from the dangers of torturous cycle of samsara. So the abode of noble ones provides us refuge from all kinds of potential danger in samsara to help all of us attain such great refuge. Our Buddha delivered this sermon, Ariyavasa. So we have to listen this discourse on behalf of the Buddha, expounded by the Buddha, keeping it in mind. You have to listen to this talk carefully. So if we want to dwell in that Ariyavasa, we need to remove 5 mental hindrances. Kamechana Nivarana, Vyavara Nivarana, Tinamida Nivarana, Odija Gogoja Nivarana, and Vichikecha Nivarana. Kamechana, sensual desire, need to be removed. And second one, ill will, Vyavada, need to be removed. So today we go to Vyavada, ill will. Ill will means resentment, disliking, anger, hatred, and also fear, anxiety, worry, tension, agitation, depression, frustration, and impatience. All these are Vyavada, ill will. In the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, Buddha expounded Santanwa ichatam vyavada atime ichatam vyavadodi pajanadi. Asantan ichatam vyavadan natime ichatam vyavadodi pajanadi. That means when ill will is present in him, he knows there is ill will in me. Or when ill will is absent in him, he knows there is no ill will in me. Here again, we need to understand two kinds of reflection, manasikara, ayoniso manasikara, and yoniso manasikara. Ayoniso manasikara means you take the objects as nature, sukha, atta, and subha. You take the objects as permanent, happiness, self, and beautiful. And then you take as an object of anger, that is ayoniso manasikara. Yoniso manasikara means wise reflection. That means you take the objects as impermanence, suffering, and non-self, as they really are. So when you have wise reflection, you will experience the absence of ill will. And when you have unwise reflection, you will have ill will. During meditation, anger or resentment may often arise in yogis. Yogi may be angry with themselves, or they may be upset because somebody makes a noise. Yogi cannot concentrate. Soon yogi will be restless and angry. When such anger or ill will arises, sometimes you will think of someone with whom you have quarreled and towards whom you feel resentment. So when these different kinds of emotion arise in yogis, they must become aware of the presence of anger and note, I have anger, or just note anger, anger, anger. Don't forget. When you notice resentment and ill will, then you note ill will, ill will, ill will. You may notice hatred and sometimes fear, then you note fear, fear, fear. Because you are noticing anger and you are noticing it 3 or 4 times, the anger or ill will disappear. When it has disappeared, yogis must be aware of its disappearance and note, there's no anger in me anymore, and so on. So Mahasatipatthana Sutta mentioned, Yattacha Anupanasa Vyavadasa upadohoti tinja pajanati. He also knows the reason by which the arising of non-arisen ill will comes to be. Here yogis exercise yoniso manasikara, wise reflection. Everything is impermanent. The objects of ill will are also impermanent. And when yogi wisely reflect on their impermanence, they cannot be angry about them. But when they reflect unwisely, then they will experience ill will and anger towards these objects. So sometimes during meditation, you may notice, I have this ill will because I reflect wrongly. I have ayoniso manasikara. I have an unwise attitude towards things. I have wrong views of things. When you are aware of this, you are said to be aware of the cause of the arising of ill will. So Mahasatipatthana Sutta said, Yatacha Upanasa Vyabhadasa Pahanahodi Tinja Pajanadi. He also knows why the abandoning of arisen ill will comes to be. When you experience ill will and take note of it, you will also observe it disappears. When it has disappeared, you become aware of its disappearance. You know that it has disappeared because you took note of ill will. Also, when you reflect wisely, especially on metta, loving kindness, ill will, vyabhada, will leave you. So wise reflection or yoniso manasikara are the cause of the disappearance of ill will. Outside of vipassana meditation, vipassana retreat, there are also 6 ways yogis can practice to abandon ill will. First, you take up loving kindness meditation. You sending out thoughts of love. You radiating thoughts of goodwill towards all beings. And second is you practice loving kindness meditation until you reach the jhana stage. When yogi reach the state of jhana, they will be able to abandon ill will. And another way is you reflect on karma as your own property. Kammasaka. To reflect on your karma as your own property is important for many reasons. When you are angry, you can say to yourself, who am I angry with? You are reborn in this world as a result of karma you have accumulated in the past. You will also be reborn hereafter according to your karma you accumulate in this life. So being are born and die according to their karma. And since it is according to their karma that beings are reborn and die, there's no reason for you to be angry with anybody. A person who is angry is like a person who wants to strike somebody else. Such person wants to take up a red hot iron to strike or pick up filth to throw at somebody else. So yogis should reflect on their own karma as being their responsibility. We all shape our own life according to our own karma. And the fourth way is by reflection on karma being one's own property and property of other person as well. Or extensive contemplation on good things about metta, loving kindness, and bad things about ill will. That means you try to see the advantages of loving kindness and the disadvantages of anger, ill will, and hatred. By recognizing what is good and seeing the advantages of loving kindness as well as the disadvantages of ill will, you will be able to abandon hatred, ill will, and anger. And the fifth way is having a good friend, Kalyanamita. A good friend is always a condition or cause for abandoning akusala thoughts, unwholesome thoughts. That in this case are ill will. People who are full of loving kindness can influence other people to be full of loving kindness also. So when you associate with the friends, with a person who had abundant loving kindness, then you will be able to abandon ill will and anger, taking the friends as an example. And the last way is suitable talk. Talk about loving kindness, meditation, talk about forgiveness, talk about advantages of loving kindness and the disadvantages of ill will. This will help you to abandon ill will. So when yogis reach the third stage of sainthood, that means when you become anagami, you can abandon evil altogether. Let me explain more. Ill will arises when you react to an unpleasant object without mindfulness. Ill will can be compared to disease. So need to remember anger or temper is disease. Remove it quickly through the practice of mindfulness. So we should not underestimate any illness, but should take a quick action to treat it. Even a minor ailment like headache, flu, etc. In the same way, a will is illness, and a quick action should be taken to remove it. No doubt, Satipatthana meditation or mindfulness meditation is the best remedy. So when we are ill, especially infested with malaria, we usually lose appetite and find no food delicious. Food sweet for others may be bitter for sick person. Even sugary food or palm sugar would taste like bitter for a sick person. Sugar does not change in taste, but his or her tongue does change in appetite due to illness. In the same way, when he is angry, he always finds fault with people like relatives, friends, or acquaintances. When normal time, when you not get angry, you appreciate the advice of your friends and thank them for their kind advice. But when you get angry, you may turn a deaf ear to them or reject what they say or even hate them under the impression that they are supporting your opponent. So we need to be cautious when we try to pacify an angry man. By and large, two quarreling men will hate any attempt to mediate between them or to bring them to their senses. So we are likely to be in trouble if we mediate in a dispute or a fight. Consumed with hatred, they would not heed what they say, and they may even resent it, although we try to mediate between them with the best of intention. So when we are angry about anything, we should consider ourselves infested with disease and restrain our anger quickly with the help of mindfulness. Otherwise, it will get worse and in the end spell disaster for its victim as well as for other people. So from time to time, we hear news reports of friction, disputes, and bitter quarrels among mutually beloved family members whose anger broke loose and ended up in carnage and bloodshed. A few years ago, at one village, there were two sisters, and among them there was an argument. The elder sister asked the younger sister to go to the village festival, but the younger sister rejected, and they had an argument. So there comes tragic death of the younger sister stemming from her disagreement with her elder sister over that trivial matters. In the fit of temper, the elder sister hurled a pair of scissors, wounding her younger sister fatally. And a few years ago, one of the family members had a very good vacation. Accidentally, among them, there was an argument, and there come tragic death of one of the family members. So such crimes cause much grief and remorse, even though they are committed accidentally. So anger is a root cause of many violent crimes and the suffering of some people, including the beloved ones of those who cannot control anger. Even worse is that the anger brings about evil results, not only in this present life, but also in the life after death, by leading to the woeful states. The destructive nature of anger is clear in the story of Vedehika, a housewife. Vedehika lived in Savatthi city before the time of our Lord Buddha. People in her neighborhood held Vedehika in high esteem for her characters that they believed admirable. On top of her friendliness, kindness, and affability. They did not see any defect in her characters. Vedehika had a servant girl called Kali after her dark skin complexion. On hearing many of her neighbors praise her mistress Vedehika, the servant Kali wondered whether her mistress Vedehika character was really admirable, or the mistress did not show her true colors just because she, a very dutiful servant, fulfilled all her needs. So one morning, Kali, the servant girl, wanting to test the moral character of her mistress Videhika, purposely did not get up early from bed as usual. So the next morning, when Videhika woke up and found her servant Kali had not yet done housework as usual, like cleaning the house, preparation for food, breakfast, and so on, she compassionately thought servant Kali had not been very well. So when Vedehika asked, Kali, what happened to you? Why you not get up? And Kali replied, I do not get up early just because I do not want to get up early. Then Vedehika frowned at her but did not say any words of anger. The next day, servant Kali tested her again in the same way. Now Vedehika was furious and scolded her. Then when she repeated her test for the third time, Vedehika became very furious and threw a door bolt at Kali, smashing her head seriously. So Vedehika's violent outbursts of ill temper reveal her ugly character. All our words and actions stem from our mind, and so there is no doubt about the importance of our mind and the need to control our mind. There is always the mind as a driving force behind all our actions, whether good or bad. Of course, it is also the mind that underlies all our wholesome actions. You want to do charity because you have compassion, you have loving kindness, and you want to share your properties with others. Due to your wholesome states of mind, you perform charity. You have compassion, and you want to keep your moral precepts. So you don't care, you don't steal, you don't do sexual misconducts, etc. Due to your wholesome states of wholesome states of mind, you observe sila. So the minds that underlies all our wholesome actions. Now scientists seek to control the atom and harness the atomic energy to generate terrible weapons. They are always busy doing a lot of research on the material phenomena in order to conquer the material world. But far more important is to conquer the mind or to gain control over it. It is lack of mind control that has led to much suffering, as is evident in the story of Vedehika. And the story continue. The servant Kali went out and told the Nivas how brutally her mistress Vedehika treated her. So Vedehika's cruelty and hypocrisy was revealed, and people became critical of her character. Now her critics even outnumbers those who used to praise her before. Of course, it is easier for us to be blamed than to be praised. To earn public admiration, we need to possess self restraints and other virtues. And the maintenance of reputation requires lifelong struggle for moral purity. Some people get tainted with scandal towards the end of their lives and thereby suffer a serious blow to their social standing. To preserve our good name is an uphill task, whereas it is easy to incur condemnation. There are some people who fall into disgrace overnight by doing something morally wrong. The root cause of such public disgrace is often related to ill temper. It is a dangerous disease that festers and makes its victim behave carelessly and shamelessly. So we need to remove anger. The eradication of anger always benefits ourselves and everybody else around us. During an intensive retreat, as well as in our daily life, there are only a few people who live alone. Most of us live in society, dealing with people around us on day-to-day basics. In a household, for example, there are at least two spouses. The two need to get on in harmony with each other. In any case, minor conflicts and resentments are unavoidable. So when you get angry, you should remember you get infested with disease. Then you should take an immediate action by noting it carefully so that you can overcome it or at least can keep it under control. Otherwise, it will grow strong enough to speak out what's improper or abuses to the other people. So a minor conflict between two spouses may end up in open hostility and discord and even in divorce, making both suffer a lot. This is the example of the price that he have to pay here and now for lack of self-control. If one's ill-temper outbursts leading to an evil deed, the evildoer will have to pay heavy price. for the evil in terms of prolonged misfortunes throughout the life cycle. Non-Buddhists also need to prevent the outbursts of ill temper for their own well-being in their everyday life. So remember, ill temper, Vyavada is like a disease. If a man was afflicted with contagious disease, for instance, like leprosy, people loathe and stay away from him. Even his relatives and friends do not wish to come into close contact with him for fear of infection. In the same way, when ill temper, Vyabhada, outbursts like a disease, it causes damage to healthy relationship between loved ones. In this sense, ill temper is exactly like disease. It is prime important to note and remove it above all else. Every time we give a talk, we put emphasis on this point because in most cases, we quarrel with our closest ones who are always there to help us when we are in need, who are those who can practically rely on. There are very few cases in which people quarrel with those who live far away, like in other towns, cities, or states. There are people who live in foreign countries, but we don't even know their existence. So there are no reason to quarrel with them, and nor is there anything we can do to help each other either. So the people whom we are likely to quarrel with are often our neighbors, close friends, relatives who are always there with us and help us in time of needs. In villages, quarrels break out among neighbors whose houses are close together. These seldom occur among those who live one or two houses apart. So they are those whom we have to approach for help when needed, although they are those we quarrel with, in order to ensure unity, harmony, and mutual well-being among those living together. We should be always on the alert for the infection of ill temper. As soon as we become aware of signs of resentment, like a frown in the facial expression, a raised voice, or unpleasant feeling, we should restrain and try to nip our temper in the bud so that it may not affect us emotionally any further. Bad temper tends to feed on itself, and so we should not allow it to gain momentum. For example, we should stop talking when we notice our emotion underlying our tone of voice. So even if you can't practice all features of Ariyavasa, we want you to follow this one in particular. That is, remove the anger. Because it's like a disease. Remove anger, remove ill will quickly through the practice of mindfulness. In the Jataka story, our Bodhisattva suppressed his anger and how he practiced forgiveness, how he practiced patience, how he developed compassion. As a noble being, Bodhisattva helped his enemy to get free from suffering. So this is a story of Mahakapi story, great monkey, monkey king. Story is like this in the present time. When the Buddha was dwelling at the bamboo grove, Buddha told this story of one of his past lives. Just as in this present life, in the previous life, his cousin Devadatta had tried to harm him by throwing a stone at him. So previous story is like this. Long, long ago, there was a farmer who was plowing his fields with his oxen. After some time, he let the oxen loose and began digging with a spade. The oxen, grazing here and there, gradually stray away into the forest. When the time was getting late, the man set aside his spade and looked around for his oxen. Now the man realized that they had all disappeared into the forest. So he became very distressed and ran into the forest searching for them. Unfortunately, he lost his way and wandered about for 7 days without any food in the forest. Finally, he came upon a tree that stood at the edge of a cliff. The tree was full of ripe fruits. First, the man picked up and ate the fruits that had fallen on the ground. Feeling unsatisfied, he decided to climb the tree to pick more fruits to eat. He climbed up the tree, but the branch below him suddenly broke, and then he fell 60 cubits into the deep ravine. Luckily, the water in the ravine broke his fall and saved him from being crushed to death. But he could not climb out of the ravine and spent 10 days trapped there. On the 10th day, a monkey king, our Bodhisattva, came by to eat the fruits from the tree. He heard a splashing noise below. The monkey king looked down into the ravine and saw a man splashing water. The man told the monkey king about how he fell down there. Our Bodhisattva, the Monkey King, took pity on the man, and after testing his strength by carrying a heavy stone, went down into the ravine to save the man. So everything is okay, and he carried the man upon his back, and with great effort managed to climb back up to the top. Now the Monkey King felt tired after his great effort and asked the man to keep watch over him while he rested. The Monkey King was very tired, so he lay down and soon fell fast asleep. The man, who had not eaten in 10 days, looked at the Monkey King, and there appeared very wicked thoughts. If I kill the monkey and eat him, then I will be full for days. With a full belly, I can surely find my way out of the forest. So that kinds of wicked thoughts occurred to that man. So he took a stone and hit the Monkey King on the head. But he did not have enough strength to kill the monkey and only broke his skull. The Monkey King woke up with blood pouring out of his head and immediately jumped up into the tree. He reproached the man with tears in his eyes. "O man, I saved your life. Now that is how you repay me back." But the Monkey King did not get angry. He was a noble being with great compassion. So Monkey King did not abandon the man. But the Monkey King stayed up in the tree for safety, and from there pointed the way out of the forest to the wicked man. Because of his evil deeds, the man felt a burning sensation over his entire body. When he went to the pond to throw water on himself to cool down, leprous, foul-smelling sores appeared over his entire body. For 7 days, for 7 years, he wandered about in great suffering, and wherever he went, people threw stones at him to chase him away. Finally, he came to Mikachara Park in Benares. He lay down outside the park on a plantain leaf, twisting and turning in pain. At that time, the king of Benares was going to the park with his followers. The king saw the ghost-like man, thin and white as a skeleton, covered with huge lumps and sores. The king had never seen anyone in such a terrible state like this before. So the king asked the man, "Who are you? What did you do bring such suffering upon yourself?" The king asked. Then the man told the king the story of how he betrayed the monkey king, his benefactors. After telling his story, the earth split open and swallowed the wicked man. So he was reborn in Aviji hell. Now the Buddha concluded his teaching by saying, not only in this life, but also in the previous life, my cousin Devadatta threw a stone at me. Then he revealed that in this previous life, Bodhisattva was the monkey king and Devadatta was a tricky man. So in this Magapi Jataka story, we know how Bodhisattva suppresses ill will, Vyabhada, and he practiced forgiveness, he practiced patience, he practiced metta, compassion, and karuna, loving kindness and compassion. So he helped his enemy to get free from suffering. So we all yogis have to understand that when there appears Nivaranas, all these Nivarana, Kamechana Nivarana, Pyavara, Tinamida, Odicha, Gogocha, and Vijigeja, sensual desire, ill will, sloth and trouble, restlessness and remorse, and doubt occurred, we all have to remove through the practice of mindfulness. So we have to stop our discourse for today by practicing vipassana meditation, by removing all kinds of mental hindrances. We all yogis dwell in Ariyavasa by noting rising, falling, sitting, touching, seeing, hearing continuously and meticulously. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.